How many of you are newcomers to the Barn Theater, by the way? May I see your hand? Oh, lots. Marvelous. Because a show like this brings out new people. That's the great benefit to the theater at large, and particularly to the Barn Theater.
Back in the day, theaters, like right after World War II, theaters were pretty much popping up all over the place in barns and things, and that's how really my folks came to, being here. They grew up in kind of totally different worlds. My mom was actually, she was born in Hitchcock, Oklahoma. Her mom and dad moved from Oklahoma to California, where she was raised until at the end of her college years, where she did a little bit of work at the Turnabout Theater in Hollywood, but she discovered this opportunity to come to the Midwest on a scholarship to Kalamazoo Civic Theater. She was making her way to the East Coast. She wanted to be an actress. And Dad grew up in Kalamazoo. He showed aptitude for being a fighter pilot, but he chose to go the route of bombardier.
I took an examination on the field and placed second. And they let me go to radar school from when they shipped me overseas.
He did 20 missions over Japan. After World War II, he came back, and through his youth, did a ton of stuff at the Kalamazoo Civic. To stop my mom to going out east, Dad says, hey, we need to start a theater here.
Actually, it probably started in the 30s, but certainly in the 40s, it was very big. There were a great number of summer theaters. You see, in New York, for example, when we think of Broadway today, everyone now thinks it runs 12 months a year. Remember, they didn't have air conditioning in the summer in New York, and so many of the stars would not play in the summer.
My first interest was at Colorado College. My mother was very ill, not expected to live, and I decided that there was something I needed to do to make her proud of me. And so I tried out for a play.
See, I went off to a war, with Second World War, when I was on my 17th birthday. And then I went to college for 5 years on the GI Bill. So then I decided I was going to be an actor. When I got out of World War II, I didn't have the vaguest notion what the hell I was going to do. The government was willing to send me to college. I went to college to be an English major, because that's all I could think of to do. And I did nothing my first year but plays, and then it was all perfectly clear.
My husband and I were in New York City. He, of course, was hired first as an actor. I came along as the wife, and of course, we had a child at that time. That first year that I was here, I helped out painting a piece on a set, and Jack asked me if I would repaint the whole set that night, because he liked what happened.
Jack always threw a party for the kids. He had an apartment, he and Betty, at Central Park. Wayne took me to the party, and Jack said, I hear you're a singer. And I said, yeah, I think. And he said, would you do something? So I did something, and he said, welcome aboard. That was 55.
Jack's idea was going to be kind of like we were the group theater, and the idea was it was going to be a democracy. Well, there is no democracy in the theater, not if you've got a next show to get on in the next 2 weeks and you're playing one.
Dad said we need a chief and a few more Indians.
By the second show, Jack had firmly taken over as director of the Barn Theater. Jack and Betty were almost ready to come back to start the next season. I think that would be the 4th season. And then, it was in the spring, when they thought of their company, and they were going to do it in the same place.
I don't know which window it was, because they didn't have any wing space.
Yeah.
The stage was wide enough. They were like, go out a window. They had an exit like stage right. They had an entrance coming in stage left. They'd hop in the other window.
The people out there said, no, we're not going to rent to you.
The town elders didn't like the late night traffic.
Jack was basically ready to give up trying to get a theater here.
My dad and mom were walking around the barn, and they're like, well, I guess that's it. We can't find a home, and summer's burning away here. But the guy who they were talking to initially came running around the barn and says, oh, wait a minute. Have you checked the cook place? Because I don't think anything's happening in there. And that's like, the cook? Where? He goes, oh, well, it's in Augusta. So, my dad grew up in Kalamazoo, and he goes, where the hell's Augusta?
just very fortunate to have found a location that was midway between two major towns, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, which was centrally attractive to Grand Rapids, to Jackson, Lansing, South Bend.
For some reason, it wasn't really used as a barn right then, you know, with cows and horses. They thought, this is Straw Hat Circuit Theater.
I went to those Straw Hat auditions, and I remember Marin we remember each other, although we didn't speak that day.
I was auditioning for Summer Stock, which is where I met Scott at the regionals in Midland, Michigan. And we were both recruited by Betty Ragazzi and Jimmy Knox to come to the barn and be apprentices.
It was very open, and I think that's why I went, because she said there'll be other theaters that are going to offer you roles and money. I'm offering you nothing and telling you might scrub the toilets all year. And there was something about that, but she said you're going to get professional experience,
Right.
and you're going to work with professional people, and these other places can't offer you that.
I was brought to the barn as an apprentice by Dusty Reeds, who was my college professor at San Jose State University. Dusty had been going to the barn by that time for several years.
My graduation gift from my parents was enough money to get me through my first summer at the Barn Theater to start the process of getting my equity card, because I wanted to move to New York and become, you know, an actress. Actually, all I really wanted to do was move to New York and become a chorus girl. My sights were pretty low. It happened to be a summer that they were doing Godspell and Fiddler on the Roof and all these terrific shows for a young woman just coming out of college. So I ended up with several leads at my first summer at this, you know, big equity theater.
If you were right for something, Jack put you in the part, but he read everyone. He could see things that no one else did.
If there ever was such a thing as an all-around theater guy, Jack was it, you know. We had to be in those days. All of us were that. People told me it was tough to get along with, and so forth. Well, he was the director, you know, and we were working all week just trying to get plays on.
If I have something I've left out tonight, opening nights always do me, and I spent a half an hour trying to figure out what to wear. I really wanted to wear pajamas, but I didn't think I could run around the parking lot in pajamas. I remember back in the 50s having a dark blue shirt and a white or a light gray tie and a seersucker suit. This was as close to it as I could come. As you know, our show was set in the 50s, when 7.5 cents really was a big raise, and that's what it's all about tonight. And now, the Barn Theater proudly presents your overture to its production of The Pajama Game. Thank you.
He does a curtain speech. I mean, where do you see that anymore? They've paid their money, they just want to see the play. And he'd come out and start talking about his golf game, and you wanted to shoot him.
He had such a one-on-one relationship with every single member of his audience.
They ended up feeling very close to him, as much of a character as he was. He was, you know, a terrific showman.
I had heard that he had another side to him, that Jack was a bit of a tyrant.
He was authoritarian. He had to get it on. He had to move it around. He couldn't have you up there wandering around trying to find your space and your character, because I had to light it.
I was scared of him. I'm sure I'm not the only person to say that.
I was terrified.
Yeah, I was terrified, yeah.
I don't know why. He was a kind guy, but you hear stories about people, you know.
Those of us that had auditioned for Betty didn't know him, just knew of him, and the stories were sort of large.
He could be a son of a bitch when he wanted to be, or even if he didn't want to be.
It was freezing cold, and it was after a bar show, and he'd arrived late at night. And I was in the bar in a parking jacket, because there were jackets that the guys in the parking lot wore that said Barn Theater on them. And I had one on because it was freezing and I didn't have a jacket. And he walked up to me and he said, "Are you parking cars?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Then get that jacket off."
He tended to stomp and holler around and so forth. And we'd say, "Oh, little man's having a fit."
I saw him just decimate people, make girls cry left and right. It was his joy to make a girl cry.
I was on the board and I had very few light cues. It was the Rainmaker. One of the lights flittered during a very crucial scene. And it kept flittering and I wasn't touching anything, and I was, of course, very anxious and freaking out to some degree. Just to top it off, Jack Ragazzi came into the back room and said, "Stop touching the fucking thing." I'm not touching it, Jack. There's the white and the blood out of my face.
There were times where Jack would have his Jack attacks, and they were completely premeditated. He would say to someone, I gotta go up to the shop and do some yelling, it's about time.
He could pinpoint a problem in a scene with an actor. He knew what was wrong and what was right and how to fix it.
He also made you realize that theater was competitive, not just theater, but show business was going to be a competitive industry. If somebody wasn't pulling their weight, by lunchtime they were back picking up cigarette butts in the parking lot and somebody else was trying out for the role.
Sometimes it was, I think, to push somebody to see how far he could push somebody, you know, and how strong you were and what you could take.
You learned to make strong choices and get to work, and I think that served me well later on.
I'd always heard these stories about, oh, you're doing a show with Betty, you know, you have to know her lines too because she'll just disappear in a scene. You know, and she won't, you know, she certainly knows where she is, but she'll just wait until you say her line. I was like, really?
A couple of us were good with a hammer and a screwdriver and a drill and a monkey wrench and things, and I would build her some shelves and she'd stand back and look at that and just, I thought, well, all the talented people around here you have, you're admiring some shelves.
You know, she helped me a lot through the years, as harsh as she was. Told me I was too fat and that I wore horrible shoes with, you know, things that I had on. But she also taught me how to put makeup on and to, you know, costumes and different things. I learned so many basic things from her, hard lessons, but really ones that I have never forgotten.
Once I had gone to New York, I found out that it was known in New York. There were a number of like graduates from the Barn Theater that were doing well in New York, and actually that has multiplied over the years since I was here. There's been a lot more exposure. There's several different actors and actresses that have gone on to do television success and film success from here.
The people who come there have a great attitude for theater. You know, they want theater. And there are also many talented who are not known, I mean, but they've been to the barn. I don't know, is it something in the walls?
Hi, I'm Diane Delany, and I was at the Barn Theater in 1977 for 2 seasons. I got my equity card there, which was a big deal.
Hi, I'm Lauren Graham. I was an apprentice at the Barn Theater 2 summers in a row, something resembling 1989 and 1990. It was really kind of the first time I had ever had anything resembling a professional job, and I was really inspired by the equity company. They were the first real actors I knew.
Jack hired me. I had just been in New York about 8 months. I was working as a barmaid for the mob. Wanted to be an actress on Broadway, and Jack gave me my first job.
Equus, and I played Jill, who was totally naked in the play. And as we all know, Jack Ragazzi always had one show every summer where somebody was naked. Because he learned when he did Hair in 1969 that a lot of people want to see naked people, and Hair paid for the air conditioning.
This was really my first real taste of what I consider real professional theater, with the kind of sophisticated audiences and just the whole total immersion that you're in when you do a show. I was referred here by an acting teacher at the university who had been here as well, and I think that's how a lot of people have come here. They've been referred by past Barneys.
I spent 5 months there, summer of '65. We did and at the end of the 5 months, I had my union card, and I was a member of Actors Equity, and that was the beginning.
I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving.
Stephen Lynch got together with a group of guys here, and the writing just sort of started to flow. I don't know. Actually, I shouldn't say that it definitely happened here, but I think he started writing here.
Joe and Scott Burkell both were the big dogs when I was an apprentice, and up until just a couple years ago.
Someone like Marin Mazzie, Tom Wopat's agent, was here to see Tom in a show. And he saw Marin and went, when you get to New York, see me.
Wow.
I mean, J. Michael Bloom was the agent to have at the time.
When Tom would come back, the electricity level would just, really go up. And that was a great opportunity for the theater to make money, which, is necessary. But it was also fun for Tom to be able to come back and pick and choose some roles that he might not be thought of, in New York.
Why do the neighbors chatter all day behind their doors? You got to learn about being a host, mister. How would you like it if we slipped you into the tour? This needs salt. Who sent you guys? Duncan Hines?
When he walks on that stage, there's a star power. It's just magnetic watching that guy.
Robert Newman, who played my husband 3 times on Guiding Light, it was the person that introduced me to Jack.
I was the bartender, the bar manager and bartender that season, so I spent the majority of the time during that show in the bar. And then Kim Zimmer would come down after the show, and she and I would just get drunk together, and it was pretty great. She's a fun gal.
Tom is an interesting character. Tom would flirt with the audience in the middle of the show. I shouldn't say that, but he would. People loved Tom. He was so sexy, and and I'd be playing a scene with him as Lizzie, this meek little woman fighting to be a woman, and I'd be playing a scene with Tom, and he'd be like winking at some woman, which was his way of communicating with the audience too. But I'd be like, hello, I'm standing right here.
He directed City of Angels, which I was in, and that was a nightmare because I only had 2 lines in the show, and I couldn't do them right, according to Mr. Wopat.
We did City of Angels, and I was in the quartet, and they cast somebody, in case I couldn't hack the music of the quartet, they cast somebody that was going to take over 3 days in for just me. So I worked so hard. I still remember every note of it. I'm sure, that will be drilled into my head forever.
Who's that now? Jennifer Garner.
Recall?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, we'll move on.
Betty Ragazzi told my mom that I was fine on stage, but that I cleaned a bathroom better than any apprentice they'd ever had. Better than any apprentice ever in history, the bathrooms. Me.
Did we know that Jennifer Garner was going to be like a ninja butt-kicking A-list star? No.
One of the best things about working at the barn was Penelope. I called her Penelope, and she was a nun with me, and I idolized her.
She was the apprentice, I would have wanted to be when I was an apprentice. She was very serious. She learned her stuff. She was incredibly talented on so many levels. She's like a prima ballerina. I mean, she's just a gorgeous, glorious dancer.
One of the brightest stars in Michigan theater has died. Betty Ragazzi, who with her husband Jack was getting ready for her 50th season at the Barn Theater in Augusta, died of lung failure at Kalamazoo Hospital yesterday. She was 71 years old.
In 1995, your mother Betty passed away. Can you talk about that? How things changed?
Well, it's such a weird one because Penelope was pregnant with our first child, and she just gave birth, and she was giving birth actually when my mom was being wheeled up to ICU.
I don't think I've ever been as shocked by a death in my life. She was so vital and so fit and such a worker bee. The fact that she could go into a hospital and slip away like that was just staggering.
It really just kind of turned the theater upside down.
A lot of Barneys came back and you know, wanted to, you know, see us go on and help us transition.
There was a sense of panic in Brendan and I, just about how's Dad gonna do?
Right.
How's the barn gonna do?
I was with Jack and you know, every night in the hospital, and we were all there when she passed away. I knew how important she was to everything, but somehow you struggle on, you know, you do what you have to do.
I think Jack was the same as what he had been before Betty died.
He had the final say. He would, you know, be there for dress rehearsals and so forth, but he was less and less active the last, maybe 3 or 4 years. Brendan took over quite a bit, you know.
She loved Brendan. Brendan loved her. She raised Brendan, I mean, you know, with all the things you should have, you know, and all. And I've always admired her for that.
We like the audience. I think they like us. Much of that is attributable to Betty, by the way, who was masterful at detailing.
When Jack passed away, he was our master. He was the man. He was the guy who did this.
He was the theater. I know. And so what is the theater after he's gone?
I don't know. My first thought was, oh God, my buddy died, you know. And that it was very sad. I could cry right now about that.
Both parents that I lose, it kind of, you know, I feel that, you know, it takes a while before they realize, okay, it's okay, you know, everything is all right, you know, but.
It was probably hard for people, the regular patrons, which they had a lot of, to appreciate a new chapter. I think some were very supportive of it, and I bet that a lot let it go as a thing of the past.
I've been waiting for a man like you, short hair and everything, just for you.
06, 07 were, you know, they were tight. 08 was great though. So you go, okay, we're getting back to that one bad year, one good year. 09 we were really struggling, and each show you would think, okay, we'll make up a little bit. Yeah, we're going to lose this year, but every show we lost. We had enough to open in 2010, but never want to be like one of these theater companies or movies that get halfway through and go, oh, sorry guys, out of money.
I genuinely think that younger generations aren't as appreciative or interested in theater as some of the previous ones were.
Every decade something's been there to help us survive, whether it's been Wopat coming back after Dukes of Hazzard fame in the 80s, 90s, you know, we had Stab in the Dark and it would be 2 weeks and never heard of again, but it was Rocky Horror. So that helped us through the 90s. This last decade's been tough.
I thought this place was always safe because it is, you know, you say it's only 400 seats. It's hard to get with the economy today, it's hard to get 400 fannies in these seats.
Good morning. It is 7 o'clock in Cambridge, Ohio, and we drove until 2:30 in the morning to get here. This is going to be the audition process for regional auditions to try to fulfill the Barn Theater's quota for apprentices for the 2011 season. These actors and actresses today have their hands full.
You guys are the future of this business. The guys who are running the business right now don't know what the hell they're doing, and it's not like they don't want to. They want to, but it's the technology and that other word is part of show. You got show, but you got business there. And when you got business in there, it screws everything up.
There we go. Thank you.
Really loud noise, take one.
My name is Katrina Chisick, and I'm a third-year apprentice.
Patrick Hunter, third-year apprentice.
I'm Meg Schneider. Jenna Batardi. Kristen Ross.
Eric Suchiyama.
Melissa Cotton. Amy Harpenau. Annie Westendar. Bethany Edlund.
Carver Duncan.
Elise Moon. Natalie Sparbuck. Erin O'Shell. Kathleen Grace Fiore. Miriam Henkel-Molman.
Nicholas Pearson.
Ryan Brennan.
Vincent Esther. Zachary Durand.
My name is Brian Graziani, and I am a first-year apprentice.
I'm looking forward to the season all around.
Really, really want to be in Chicago. I would love to be cast in Chicago as one of the 6 murderesses.
I mean, Chicago is just one of those musicals that everyone wants to do.
It's a sexy, fun show, and who doesn't want to do it?
I'm not really the type of guy that they're going to put in like a see-through mesh shirt because no one wants to see that.
Chicago is the one that I'm really excited about.
I just love it.
I know it sounds silly, but I'm really looking forward to Cinderella. I know everybody's probably like, Chicago! Everybody wants to be in Chicago.
Well, I'm really excited because I don't know Man of La Mancha very well, and I don't know Sunset Boulevard. And I love Cinderella. I'd also like to be in Cinderella.
Cinderella's gonna be wonderful.
It'll be a cute, fun show to do, especially with the Princess for a Day, to like see all the little girls get all excited about it.
There's really not a bad show in the season.
I think it's a great season.
So I'm going to say Sunset Boulevard because I love the score. It's epic. It's a lot of music to learn in a short period of time. I've been listening to the score and I'm a little obsessed with it. So I want to be a part of that and have something to do with that last show of the season.
Hey, how are ya?
Good. How's the rest of the shows filling up? Are we getting?
Yeah, Saturday nights.
Saturday night. Sold out.
Sold out.
Is it really?
The first night especially, everyone was so excited. Like you could really feel that people were so itching to get back. I mean, the audience is great. As far as I can tell, you know, they're very like responsive and nice.
It's been a lot of fun. The audience is so excited to be back. We're so excited to be back.
Luckily, like I'm used to the tight houses with the bar show because I was here in 2009. So I understand that you are spitting over them, literally sometimes. And they like it. You know, you can't think, am I too over the top in front of this person, because that person is just loving that you are singing to them.
I'll follow my master till the end.
It's a little strange. I've never performed in a setting like that before, just like a small cabaret kind of setting. So it's different. It's different being so intimate.
I love it. Because, I mean, again, you know, it's truly for them. And to just, it gives you a different like aspect, because, you know, when you have this kind of proscenium, it's just, you know, kind of straight out or up above. But when you're in the bar show, you know, you have to make sure to play to all aspects of the audience, and you're more engaged in your performance, I think.
525,600 minutes. How do you measure the life of a woman or a man?
In truths that she learned, or in times that he cried, in bridges he burned, or the way that she died. Now that I'm used to it, I feel like it's even cooler to be able to stand right in front of people and actually watch them react.
They are pouring into the bar show like just bursting with energy and excitement, and it makes it really easy to do the show.
We've learned to adapt to the audience's energy a lot because, you know, opening night was definitely high energy.
My favorite part was opening night and just seeing how much this place means to people, and to be a part of that, because there is so much history here, you know, and I think it's really great to just see the longtime patrons' faces light up. We're back, you know what I mean? And we're back with, you know, fist ablaze, and like we brought it at the bar show, I feel like, and people keep telling us they're blown away, and it's just great to be a part of something that means so much to so many people.
Thank you very much. I got one more little tiny commercial. Don't forget to get your tickets for Escanaba in Love, a super youper love story. And that opens the big barn on the 14th and runs through the 26th.
strange emotions up here. It's been a long time since I've been up here and saw all the faces. Thank you very much for coming. You know, it really comes down to, you know, you prep, what are you going to say, not like this, but thank you so much for coming. And now, the Barn Theater proudly presents its production of Jeff Daniels' Escanaba in Love. Thank you.
I knew about Escanaba in the Moonlight, which was the first one that Jeff Daniels wrote. I had never seen it, but being from Michigan and being from over in that neck of the woods, I had certainly known of its success.
I was very fortunate to be asked to play the part, because I give terrible auditions.
I was really excited about it because I had always heard about the productions of Escanaba in the Moonlight that they had done here, and that was sort of one of those shows that you hear about and that the patrons always talk about and ask if they're ever going to bring back, you know.
Who's hungry?
When I got cast in Escanaba, I looked at the cast list and I go, oh my God, yay, crap. I have a huge target on my back now for the rest of the season.
She was awesome, and she really just kind of jumped right into that role and just sort of, you know, really just bit into it, which was great.
I was thrilled because, first of all, it was a straight play. And a lot of what I direct anymore is musicals. It's not the only thing that I've directed, not the only thing that I want to direct.
When I think back to my first summer here, if I had gotten like a lead role in the very first show, like I would have been petrified.
Initially, I was very overwhelmed, but everybody has been making it so nice, so like welcoming me, not making me feel like an outsider, like a girl, because it's, you know, 4 guys and 1 girl in a rehearsal space, and automatically you're outnumbered in crude humor.
There are definitely nights when your timing is off and you're not getting your laughs, and it's like, and then you start to push harder for them, and then it's just like you're even worse.
Anybody got a toothbrush? I gotta comb my eyebrows.
We were fortunate, set-wise, to have the set for Escanaba, but it had to be repainted because we had used pieces of it for other shows and so forth.
Hans, who directed it, he's really specific, and he's really and he really sort of knows what he wants out of you.
I had terrific actors, that's 90% of it for a director. If it's cast well, then you can rely on them.
Opening night box office?
Yep.
How did it go?
Hectic. Really hectic. Working on some kinks right now, but not as bad as I had anticipated.
The first show, it's always hard to get people to start coming. I think by nature people put off things. And the first show very seldom plays to full houses.
Is La Mancha moving a little bit now?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people are your, you know, Robert Newman fans.
Well, this is the sixth time that I've come back to the barn as the marquee guy.
What a guy. He is probably one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
I handed him a sword on stage in like the very beginning scene, and he would always just like give me a big smile and like he'd be like, thank you, and then I'd walk off stage, and he was just really nice.
Everything was a collaborative effort. Like, it wasn't like this was a show to showcase him.
I'm one of those people who learns by watching other people and then seeing everything they add to their bits, and, you know, less is more, always. And Robert is the epitome of that.
I am my Don Quixote, the Lord of La Mancha, my destiny calls and I
Oh, it's all new. No, it's not. It's the same thing. It's just. Well, maybe we need to do that once before we rehearse it.
Robert's done a lot of shows here. It's my first time. I had never met him before doing the show. I'd worked with Brendan before as a director and here as a producer at this theater.
Brendan was cool. He was just so on the spot about the show and very hands-on.
He's great. He is efficient and wonderful, and
now we're working with him again on Cinderella, and I couldn't be more pleased. He's great.
He's kind of open with what he wants. He'll like tell you what he wants, but he like lets you interpret it kind of however you want. I didn't get too much direction from him just because the main stuff I was in was like Jamie's choreography or just like a random group thing, but he was like, "You're doing this? Go ahead."
Oh, Phil's filming us. Phil,
Oh, no, I'm
pretty
not
fast.
filming anything.
Oh my gosh, this is like kiddie porn right here. He's like just barely legal.
This is good. I'll lead off with this one. And this is what the apprentices do on their time off.
Party's gone wild. Yeah, you like that? Yeah.
Ah, lovely. Actually, no, just, I think the preset, Jenny, why don't we take just everything down to about half of what it is?
We added a bunch of special lights on the sides, and working that around the scenery there on stage was interesting, but we got them all up. Ran into a few issues with dimmers and things like that. We got it all sorted out, and those are probably the biggest challenges so far.
Yeah.
And then between the mattress and the wall and
Oh, no shit.
the twisting ensued.
In the well?
Yep. So Brendan's going on tonight. It'll be a little reprisal of a 1992 performance he did.
How's the house looking tonight?
Great.
Is it?
Awesome.
This is a house.
This is a house, that's right.
So this is where we are.
La Mancha's also, boy, it's just such a, as somebody here described it as sort of the Lear of musicals, you know, it's just a big thing.
It's a real challenge for the actor, but one that most actors love doing.
Every time I come back, it's really a pretty amazing experience.
He was one of our own. I think if I had put a broom in his hand, he would have swept, with no problem.
This place is different, it's just special. And I think you have to be a Barney to understand that.
Welcome everyone, welcome. Beginning Tuesday, if you've not made reservations, please do so. We're doing Chicago. I don't know if you've heard of Chicago. We did it back in 1979. Thought, that did very well for us, so we'll come back to it. Well, have you noticed lately, I don't know, maybe at home, that, we had a year's absence. We did a handful of one-nighters last year, but we're really kind of a year's absence. And what we realized in that period of time, they're making toilet paper smaller. Has anyone else noticed this? Before we get going, I'd like to introduce the man that makes up, Vinny's one of those six, but 6 of the finest musicians we have here in this great state of ours, Midwest country. And I'd like to introduce our musical director and your show pianist, Mr. John J. Espino. Again, thank you very much. And now, the Barn Theater proudly presents its production of Man of La Mancha. Thank you.
A good friend of mine, Ron Raines, who played Alan Spaulding on Guiding Light for many years, does a lot of musicals, and he's done this role before. Gorgeous singing voice. And I remember him saying to me, "Oh, you're going to go do La Mancha. We'll talk when you're done." And I thought, well, I wonder what that's about. I kind of get what that's about now. It's a extraordinary experience and challenge.
I enjoyed doing it because I love that show. I think it's relevant for today. I think it's beautiful language. One of those kind of, like, sort of like My Fair Lady. It's a classic.
Houses towards the end, because we were getting great reviews and the houses were filling up and the audiences were seeming to love it and we were enjoying it, so it was a great show.
I just think the lessons that you learn here as an apprentice are invaluable, and I don't know that there's many theaters in the country where you can really do this kind of work.
Chicago was just so much fun. I could have done that show for weeks.
It's very intense because I'm not a dancer. So all of my lack of physical coordination is really being efficiently used.
And we've had really great houses and the audiences have been responding really well, so it's great. I love it.
I've got a really great pit lined up, so I'm anxious to hear what the whole thing is going to sound like.
Katrina is meant to play Velma. She is through and through that part, and Emmy she is so fantastic as Roxy.
I think they can move to Broadway. The both of them are that good, and honestly, it is such a joy every night to watch.
Did I know I was going to be playing Roxy Hart? Oh, heck no. I didn't dream it. Like, I was like, oh, I'll be in the publicity office, helping the kids put on the show. I had no idea. I can tell you for sure that Brendan and the production staff, I don't think, saw this from me. So I had something to prove.
Nobody walks out on me, you son of a bitch! Sweetheart! Don't sweetheart me, you son of a bitch! Roxy!
I've never been that kind of character, the body, brassy, sexy character. I'm the girl next door. I'm Cosette. I'm Louisa and the Fantastics. That's Emmy. That's how they see Emmy. Before the show, I try to, while I'm getting my wig on and my makeup on, I just try to stay focused. I try not to really talk to a lot of people and just try to think about the show and just kind of get into that mode. This is such an amazing role to play. It's a huge role. I mean, there's you're constantly going. There's a couple spots in the show where I do have breaks, but I really need to take those breaks to just center myself and refocus for what's coming up next. Because Velma, she's singing, acting, and dancing. Every time she's on stage. So it's a very taxing role.
I think we all knew that, Eric Parker would be Billy, and then Roy would be Amos. That was kind of just like, we always knew that one. And then Jenna just has that swagger of Mama Morton so well that for the most part it went really according to most of our predictions, and they're all doing such an amazing job in the show. They really just help carry it, and it's amazing to watch every night.
Hans is so specific. He knows just what he wants, and he's great, I think, at and how he approaches people and giving them notes, and he gives you positive criticism, and he's like, okay, cool, you did that, now let's try it a different way, and I think he really pulls a lot out of people.
Chicago is tough because you have to be triple threats. The singing it's important, but it's not as rangy as a lot of modern musicals.
He has experience with the show, has done it in the past, so had knew what the problems were, how to work around, say, transitions between scenes and how to make that work, and what's important to bring out in the show.
Chicago, he seemed to have a very stylized idea of what he wanted right from the top.
I don't give a goddamn what she says, unless it's guilty!
You know, when we have to put up a show in 9 days, you want to work with a director who really knows the show and the stuff. Yeah, exactly. So he's been great to work with, and he's very, very supportive.
I would love to work with him in a situation where he had a bit more time to direct, because I feel like he has all of these great ideas that he never really has the time to execute.
He is a good traditional barn guy. He's able to see something and make it into something the barn way, and I admire him greatly.
We couldn't have had a better person in charge of the show, because he gets it. He gets the concept. He knows what's going to work. He's played it in front of audiences. This is the show that everyone in this company has been looking forward to doing, because I mean, it's Chicago. It's a fantastic show.
You know, yesterday's house was almost sold out. Sunday we're 24 from being sold out. And every other performance is more than halfway full.
So we'd just like to say thank you, and God bless! God bless!
My all-time favorite show is Streetcar. Streetcar Named Desire. It would be a dream role, it's a dream design, it's a dream set design for me.
Streetcar, I don't know when I think it was it 56, 57 when we did it?
Like, Streetcar has been our biggest challenge. I was here till 12, 1, 1:30 sometimes after bar show every night, just so that the next day we could get a jump. Right at 10 o'clock, we needed all the hours we could get for that show.
There's going to be opportunity for a lot of cool sound effects and stuff in that.
New Orleans, the old,
yeah.
That'll be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of throwing in some of my own ideas into that.
I'm very happy that I got to work with Dee Dee, and that there was no I'd like to tell you to do this, but you're so overwhelmed, forget it, you're not going to get it, just get your lines. You know, she kept working with me and believed in me so much that just was wonderful.
She wanted to do Blanche, and she says, you know, our home life is going to be totally turned upside down if you're directing and I'm doing Blanche. And so I stepped back, and then yes, Dee Dee was my first choice.
She was our publicist for 4 years, 5 years, so she's Barn family. And she said, hey, I want to help out in any way I can. I'd love to direct something. Do you need a director, maybe for Streetcar? As long as I have Penelope, she said. God bless her.
Wow, yeah.
She said, I'll do it.
I was thrilled. I mean, I know the script really well, but I had really 4 days to prep for it.
She's a wonderful lady. She did it for basically nothing. She just wanted to help out. And again, another person we're indebted to. Just wonderful.
And now, the Barn Theater proudly presents its production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. Thank you.
I never grew up, and I love fairy tales. So I'm looking forward to that one.
It's fun. I've always loved Cinderella. Always. Like, I've seen all the TV versions. I grew up with those, so it's fun, and it's just so cute to see all the little kids, and they love it.
Master smiled at me and then clapped his hands and stomped his feet. Sang his master song again. He went wubba 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 and a woo woo woo. Wubba 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 and a doodly doo. Wubba wubba wubba. So I sang it too. Wubba 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 is a master thing to do.
I think it's just as fun to do Cinderella as it is to do something like Chicago that takes like crazy coordination.
When I hear a command, I obey. But I know the spot in my house where no one can stand in my way. In my own little corner, in my own little chair, I can be whatever I want to be.
I am a puppet, which is really fun. I do their little mice, so that's fun and like something new that I was able to pick up on. And then I learned how to waltz, which was fun. So every show here has provided me with a great learning experience, so that's been awesome.
On Princess for a Day, there were like every other person had a crown on. All the kids, like the entire house was full of children, and it was awesome to see that they really liked what we were doing.
I love doing this stuff with the little kids. I do story times back home, and they're just so cute in their little princess gowns. And I was doing the craft corner, and that was just a little chaotic because we had a time crunch, and when you're 5, you want to string on the bead, and you want to put the sticker on, and you want to take your time, and you're like, we don't have time, and I felt bad, but they just loved the day. You could see their faces light up, and that's really what it's all about for this show, so it's pretty great.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thank you. I don't know, I'm frightened. I know my way around here. The cardboard trees, the painted seas, the sound here. Yes, a world to rediscover.
They knew that it was a show I wanted to do, and they put it on their schedule, but nobody had talked to me yet. I sent an email to Penelope and I said, are you playing Norma Desmond? Because you're too young. I said, so if you're looking for a Norma, I want to do this show, and I'd be happy to come and help you out.
He always takes forever and the honest. I don't be a
Hold for a second. Kim, why don't you come?
Kim is hilarious, especially offstage. Just going through rehearsals with her was really cool because she's just really down to earth and very funny.
And people are coming all over from like the country just to see her.
I'm actually her dresser backstage, and it's terrifying. This poor woman has to change like 12,000 times.
She is so funny. She's so funny and just a real spitfire and just a great sense of humor, so she's a lot of fun.
Thanks.
sorry. I was so ready for it.
Got so excited. Working with her, especially for the apprentices, it's like a master class. There are things you cannot learn in a classroom that you have to learn in real time. And working with someone like Kim, who can think on her feet, and how quickly she can put a role together in less than 2 weeks, and how does she execute it night after night, is a master class for people, for these apprentices to watch night after night.
Sunset Boulevard's a challenge. It's a big, beautiful show. You want to create a great set if you can, with all the criteria that you're given, budget, et cetera, but you really want to make sure it stays out of the performer's way.
The show is a behemoth. It's endless music. I mean, as you know, there's almost no dialogue breaks. All the dialogue is underscored.
Guess what? I'm getting married. Congratulations! She'll be right back. The truth is, we were just leaving. She's been stood up by some uppity hack.
Married. Who would have thunk it? Why don't you have to go back?
Hey, freeze.
I'd like to see some energy, and I'd like to see some focus. It's musical theater, not theater with music. There's a difference. Every time you say movies, I need you to be excited, rather than just saying it because it's written. Clear? Yep. Let's go back. You're better than that.
I should have stayed there. Poor Norma. So desperate to be ready.
I don't know why they take these movies that are brilliant and they weaken them with throwing songs in them.
Right.
Especially heavy-handed, repetitive, long ballads.
It's different singing than what I'm typically used to doing. And this show made me a nervous wreck.
She's half forgotten, but it's the pictures that got small. She is the greatest star of all.
I'm still taking the music home and trying to, focus things in my voice and trying to figure out, it's probably one of the biggest challenges. It's not the biggest part of the show.
Right.
But
it's a key part.
It's a key part, yeah. And I was really nervous about it.
I would have much rather had more of the dialogue for the movie than some of these crappy songs. But that being said, because the story is strong and I think the melodies are strong, what they are, it's not my favorite musical in the world, but had I not ever seen the movie, I would have thought it was interesting.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
It was great working with Hans again, because this was a new project, a place that no one has done, virtually no one has done Sunset Boulevard. Yeah. So it was a great learning experience for all of us.
And I think that I've gotten so much out of this show, simply because it's been the biggest challenge for me all year.
By this time in the season, people are still professional and they're learning and they're doing whatever they got to do, but it's a long season and it can't help but, be tired by this time, and then to launch into another huge show, it's like some people are running on adrenaline practically.
This is where I belong. It always has been. It always will be. There is nothing else. Just us and the cameras. And all you wonderful people out there in the dark. And now, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Escanaba, La Mancha, Chicago, Streetcar, Cinderella, Sunset Boulevard. That's our shows for the season. Okay. If we kind of go off a 1 through 10 scale, 1 being the slowest show of the season, 10 being the best, what's number 1 for the least attended?
That would be Streetcar.
Okay. And the most attended?
I think
It's a tie between Chicago and Sunset Boulevard, but I think Chicago just by a little bit, I think, was the most.
So I guess decisions will get made here at the end of the year after everybody's left. What's your gut thinking it's going to happen here? Do you think this was a strong enough season to keep going
I think
forward?
so. I mean, from what we've been hearing from everybody, I think we'll be able to keep going.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think we need the live interaction of audience and performer, because I think it's innate in humanity to want that.
This kind of training is gold. People always say, you just, to me, you seem to just appreciate your job so much. And I'm like, because I worked hard to get here.
It's long days. It's going to be lots of manual labor, rehearsals running back and forth. You have to stay on your toes. Some people can't cut it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But I was like, I'm going to do this. I'd rather do this than, wait tables in Times Square right now. So money's a little different, but, I'm perfectly fine.
If we didn't enjoy this, we wouldn't be here. You can't do this kind of work without having a love of it. It's not the money. it's not the prestige or the recognition. It's the fact that you can accomplish something.
One of my favorite stories, this is after my dad died, I had a customer come up to me and he was, very poignant, but he was like, came to me very concerned. He goes, do you think you're a very good businessman? And I looked at him, and I said, no, I'm not. And he kind of took a step back and, well, why is that? Because I want to do theater.
Theater will have a future as long as you have people in it who understand what it's all about, everything that goes into producing it, not just acting, not just dancing, not just designing, all of it.
Those 5 months taught me how to be in the industry, how to be a professional.
It was one of the best summers of my whole life. I've always felt that way.
Brendan, I remember you as just an adorable little kid who used to follow me around, and I love that you're keeping up the tradition, and I hope that you keep the Barn Theater going for as long as possible because you launched a lot of great careers.
The Barn Theater was one of the great teaching learning experiences I ever had. We did 12 shows in 14 weeks. We rehearsed during the day. We played at night. You really had to work at what you were doing. You really had to know what you were about. And the studying part is the great teacher for an actor is an audience. And wow, do you learn from an audience. You learn a lot.
Tucked away in a tiny town, stuck in the middle of nowhere. There's a theater of great renown. If you ain't been, you should go there. She sleep deep during winter time, but she running every day in summer. It's hard work, but if you got the heart, it's great training for the up-and-comer. So get out your grease paint and straighten your wig. Someday, kid, you're gonna make it big, 'cause this old barn is just a stepping stone. So chase your rainbow and take your chance. I'm staying here in my spangled pants, this stepping stone. She's my home. You don't know the barn, you don't know Jack. This stepping stone, she's my home.